Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your humbled host, Kevin Reed, and I would like to thank everyone for joining me for this episode of Movie Goodness, where we're going to discuss a topic that has just swept the nation for the past week and a half, at least the time of this recording, and it took social media by storm. It took the news channels by storm. It was one of those stories that really touched everybody, whether you was black, white, male, female, it didn't matter. Everybody had their attention on this story, only to get their hearts ripped out and their minds blown when the truth revealed itself. And of course, I had to jump in and discuss the case of Carlee Russell, the young lady who went missing on July the 13th and returned home 2 days later, only to find out that the story that she laid out was a fib. And it just angered a lot of people, and it angered me as well, because this is a serious thing. Kidnapping, trafficking, human trafficking is a serious thing, and is a real thing. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of young ladies and women who are being kidnapped and sold to the highest bidder. And it's a real thing, and these people are still missing. These young ladies, if they're still missing, or they're found dead, or completely just changed, changed mentally and everything else. And this is a serious thing. So when this story came out and the truth came out, it was angering that somebody would use a real pressing issue like sex trafficking as a hoax. And it was so upsetting, because this is a big fear of mine. Not that I'm gonna be kidnapped or sex trafficked. I think if I'm kidnapped, they would literally bring me back. But I'm talking in all seriousness. I have two daughters who are away in college. They are about 2 hours away from me. So if something was to happen, I'm nowhere near there. And I'm constantly, every time they're at school, I'm nervous. I'm scared, because I don't know what's going on. I'm too far away. If something was to happen, I'm 2 hours away. How I'm gonna get there in time? And I don't know anybody personally around the areas where they attend school that can get there faster than I can. And so this is a fear of mine, that my daughters would be taken. And so it's I take it very seriously. I'll just put it like that. I take it very seriously and very personal. This sex trafficking problem that has been going on as long as we can remember. It's more prevalent now because due to social media and stuff like that. But this has always been going on. So we're gonna break down the entire chain of events up till now. The date of this recording, I know more will eventually come out, probably charges and all this other stuff down the line, but we're going to go up to date of what initially happened, how it affected so many, and then we're going to get into a review of a film that is very prevalent in this particular story, and it is none other than the 2008 film starring Liam Neeson, Taken. So that is the rundown of today's show. But before we get into the show, I gave the reason why I was angry and why I'm upset and why I'm just straight up mad at Carlee Russell. But I also want to give the reason why I sympathize with her because obviously she's going through some mental health issues. It obviously is something not right there. And I'll talk more on it, after we go through the story and whatnot. But yeah, I'm not all anger. It's not all anger because I don't think she was in her right mind. Honestly, I don't think that she was thinking clearly. Even though this was carefully plotted out by her, even though, looking back in hindsight and when we go through it, you're going to see, but this doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. But yeah, it's one of those things. So let's dive into this story and go through the chain of events and then go into our review of Taken. On July the 13th, 2023, American nursing student Carlee Nicole Russell apparently disappeared for 49 hours from her home in Hoover, Alabama, falsely reporting to police afterwards that she was abducted. The story of her disappearance went viral on TikTok and Twitter and other social media platforms. On July the 24th, Russell admitted that she fabricated the story and she was not abducted. Let's go back to that fateful night on July the 13th when Carlee Russell made a 911 call at 9:34 p.m., which has been publicly released. In the call, she said that she has stopped on side of the Interstate 459, having seen an unattended young child on side of the highway. She then called a family member to report the same situation before losing contact with him, with the line remaining open. Russell's car was found by police abandoned at the location she had described. Russell appeared at her parents' house 49 hours later on July the 15th and was taken to the hospital where she was briefly questioned by police. In that interview, Carlee Russell reported she had been abducted by a male and placed inside a tractor-trailer truck. She said she was able to escape, but was recaptured and placed in a car. She claimed to have been undressed and photographed while blindfolded, though not bound at the risk to avoid causing marks, and said that she escaped again, eventually returning home. Crime Stoppers raised more than $63,000 in reward money for the search for Carlee Russell. The local police department and investigators stated that they have been unable to verify most of Carlee Russell's statement, and that continuing investigation had caused doubt on much of Miss Russell's account. In the days prior to her disappearance, Russell had performed online queries, including, do you have to pay for an Amber Alert? How to take money out of a register without getting caught? Birmingham bus stations, one-way bus tickets to Birmingham, from Birmingham to Nashville, and questions regarding the film that we're going to review a little later, Taken. The Hoover Police Department stated in a press release that they had not found any evidence of a child walking on side of the road, nor did they receive any additional calls about a toddler walking down the interstate. On July the 24th, Carlee Russell admitted that she did not see a toddler wandering down the side of the road and lied about being kidnapped in a hoax that set off a nationwide effort to find her. On that same day, on the 24th of July, Carlee Russell was scheduled to be interviewed by the police with her attorney present, but the statement was provided to the department instead. The department is hoping to reschedule the interview and speak to Russell to get more information. Hoover Police Chief Nicholas Darris stated at the press conference, "We're still trying to determine where she was during those 49 hours, but I am glad that we received this. At least put some of the social media super sleuths hopefully at rest for a little bit, as far as where everybody thinks, or what everybody thinks took place. He went on to add, "We know that by her own admission, it didn't happen." In the statement released by Carlee Russell and her attorney, she stated that she acted alone and did not have help. Carlee's parents had told Today, just a week prior to the statement being released, that their daughter was not in a good state when she returned, and appeared to have suffered some serious trauma. Carlee's mother said in an interview, there were moments where she physically had to fight for her life, and there were moments where she had to mentally fight for her life. She made it back. Russell's disappearance made national headlines and drew concern around all social media platforms, as people attempted to raise awareness about the efforts to find her. Hoover's police chief did not provide any estimate on how much was spent on the search, but noted that it was an all hands on deck effort. Carlee Russell's ex-boyfriend, Thomas Simmons, said in a Facebook post that he was blindsided and that he and his family reacted with genuine concern. He thanks volunteers and others who offered their support. Now, Jefferson County Chief Assistant District Attorney Lane Talbot told Fox News that police in Alabama want to charge the 25-year-old with 2 misdemeanor offenses: false reporting to law enforcement authorities and falsely reporting an incident. The misdemeanor counts each carry a 1-year jail sentence. Now, according to the National Crime Information Center, more than 30,000 black people in the United States remain missing at the end of 2022. Half of that 30 are black women and girls. And that's what makes this so disheartening. Since then, the Black and Missing Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping bring awareness to missing people of color by providing resources, tools, and educating communities on personal safety, issued a statement regarding Carlee Russell's disappearance. Now that we officially know the truth, we can no longer give any more energy to this case, the foundation wrote. While Carlee's revelation is disheartening, we will not be dismayed. There are far too many missing people of color who actually need our help and are counting on us to help bring them home. We are calling on our community to not let this single incident undermine our efforts to help us find us. We have shown that we have the power to make our cases a priority too, and we must move forward and build upon this momentum. That is a statement from the Black and Missing Foundation, which was saying the same thing I was saying, but just said it smarter. Just said it more intelligent. It's disheartening. All that took place surrounding Carlee Russell. It's really, I mean, I don't really, why this to bring attention to yourself? Now, if you notice, I didn't get into all the social media rumors and, it was to get a boyfriend's attention and all this other stuff, because I've heard all that, I've read all that, and I'm not even going to go into that. I just wanted to talk about the facts that we do know for certain, but you can speculate till the cows come home why she did it and whose attention she was trying to get. I'm not even going there with it. I still stand by the fact that mentally, she's not there. Nobody in their right mind will put on this big of spectacle. And I think what really drove it home was how much attention that was being drawn to it. I don't think she really understood the gravity of the situation, all the attention that was being drawn to her. And that's why she came back home. That's why it was too much. She wanted attention and she got too much attention. Hence, she ended the charade and couldn't put on that show no longer. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about this sex trafficking epidemic. Let's call it that. There's a movie currently out in theaters called Sound of Freedom. I didn't see the movie. I refused to go watch the movie because of the people who are involved with it. But it deals with human trafficking and how serious it is. So it's being showcased a lot, especially like in the film that we're going to review today. But it's very serious. I mean, you heard the numbers, 30,000. 30,000. That's a lot of people that are missing, and you just don't know where they at. You don't know if they're alive or dead, and I don't know. That's scary to me. I'm sorry. It's very scary to me. But this is, in case you don't know what sex trafficking or human trafficking, this is what it is. Sex trafficking is human trafficking for the purpose of sexual exploration. It has been called a form of modern slavery because of the way that victims are forced into sex acts non-consensually in a form of sexual slavery. Perpetrators of the crime are called sex traffickers or pimps, people who manipulate victims to engage in various forms of commercial sex with paying customers. Sex traffickers use force, fraud, and coercion as they recruit, transport, and provide their victims as prostitutes. Sometimes victims are brought into situations of dependency on their traffickers, financially or emotionally. Every aspect of sex trafficking is considered a crime, from acquisition to transportation and exploration of victims. These include any sexual explorations of adults or minors, including child sex tourism or domestic minor sex trafficking. In 2012, the International Labor Organization reported 20.9 million people were subject to forced labor, and 22%, that's 4.5 million, were victims of forced sexual exploration. The International Labor Organization in 2016, that of the estimated 25 million people in forced labor, 5 million were victims of sex trafficking. However, due to the covetousness of sex trafficking, obtaining reliable statistics pose a challenge for researchers. The global commercial profits for sex slavery is estimated to be 99 billion, according to the International Labor Organization. In 2005, the figure was given as 9 billion for the total human trafficking. Sex trafficking typically occurs in situations from which escape is both difficult and dangerous. Networks of traffickers exist in every single country. Therefore, victims are often trafficked across states and country lines, which cause jurisdictional concerns and make cases difficult to prosecute. Here are the profiles of victims of sex trafficking, which actually there are no single profile for victims of human trafficking. Most are women, though it is not uncommon for males to be trafficked as well. Victims are caught, then exploited all over the world, representing a diverse range of ages and backgrounds, including ethnic and social economical. However, there is a set group of traits associated with a higher risk of becoming trafficked for sex exploration. Persons at risk include homeless and runaway youth, foreign nationals, especially those with lower social economical status, and those who have experienced physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, violent trauma, neglect, poor academic success, and inadequate social skills. Also, a study of a group of female sex workers in Canada found that 64% of them have been in the child welfare system as children. This includes foster care and group homes. This research conducted by Kendra Nixon illustrates how children in or leaving foster care are at a higher risk of becoming a sex worker. In the United States, research has illustrated how these qualities hold true for victims, even though none can be labeled as a direct cause. For example, more than 50% of domestic minor sex trafficking victims have a history of homelessness. Family disruptions such as divorce or death of a parent place minors at a higher risk of entering the industry. In a study of trafficked youth in Arizona, 20 to 40% of the female victims identified with experiencing abuse in some form, whether sexual or physical, at home before entering the industry as a sex slave. Of the male interviewed, a smaller proportion, 0 to 30%, reported former abuse in the home. The main motive of a woman, in some cases, an underage girl, to accept an offer from a trafficker is better financial opportunities for herself or for her family. Children are at risk because of their vulnerable characteristics, their naive outlook, their size, and tendency to be easily intimidated. The International Labor Organization estimates that of the 20.9 million people who were trafficked in the world for all types of work, 5.5 million are children. In 2016, it was estimated that approximately 1 million children around worldwide were victims of sex trafficking. Both boys and girls may be trafficked, though girls are more frequent victims. 23% of human trafficking victims identified by the United Nations report were girls, compared to 7% for boys. A female child trafficking victim are more likely to experience sexual exploration. In the U.S., children do not need to be forced into sex exploration, according to the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000, to be considered victims of sex trafficking. Under this act, a child is defined as anyone under the age of 18. However, the exploration of children under the age of 14 carry a harsher punishment, though this is rarely enforced. The Bureau of Justice statistics state that there are 100,000 child victims of sex trafficking, but only 150 child trafficking cases are brought to court in 2011. Of those, only 81 convictions were made. Many children who are trafficked are also at higher risk of turning to prostitution, a crime that many of them face criminal charges for, even under the age of 18. To sum it all up, this is a serious, serious problem worldwide. And it's not like we're going to go over in our film. It's not just people who are traveling abroad or anything like that who are getting snatched up, which is happening, but people are getting snatched up in their own homes, with home invasions and stuff like that, getting snatched out of their cars, in their own hometowns. And so you don't have to go nowhere. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but this is the facts. And it is scary, to be honest with you. It is concerning, and it is worth paying attention to. And there are ways for you to understand the severity of human trafficking and talk to someone and reach out to somebody about it. There's the Polaris Project. The Polaris Project is a nonprofit, non-governmental organization that works to combat and protect sex and labor trafficking in North America. The organization's 10-year strategy is built around the understanding that human trafficking does not happen in vacuum, but rather it is the predictable end result of a range of other injustices and inequalities in our society, our economy. Polaris is focused on three major areas of work: building power for migrant workers who are at risk of trafficking in the United States, agriculture and other industries, leveraging the reach and exploration of financial systems to disrupt trafficking, understanding accountability for perpetrators of violence against people in the sex trade, and expanding services and support the vulnerable people to prevent trafficking before it happens. Since 2007, Polaris has operated the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, and through non-governmental sources. The Trafficking Hotline provides survivors of human trafficking to support and a variety of options to help and stay safe, and share actionable tips as appropriate. Assistance through the Trafficking Hotline is available 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Victims, survivors, and others can contact the Trafficking Hotline through phone text. And here's the number in case you need it, or you know somebody who needs it. You can text this number 233-733. Web form or online chat in both English and Spanish. All contact with the Trafficking Hotline is confidential. The Trafficking Hotline also maintains a public reference directory organizations around the country that works on and may be able to assist victims, survivors, and others wishing to get involved in the anti-trafficking movement. Once again, if you need to know that number to text, it is 233-733. And their website is polarisproject.org. That's POLARISPROJECT.org. And so if you need information about that, there you have it. You could also donate on that website and everything to help out the cause if need be. But that is the breakdown of sex trafficking. And the reason that this came up is because of Carlee Russell and her hoax of a kidnapping and all this here. And I wanted to go through all that because I do want to shine light on actual victims, the actual crime of sex trafficking. Just as the Black and Missing Foundation stated in their statement that they're not going to let this one case deter them and draw attention away from the actual problem. They're going to keep pressing forward, and that's the goal here, not to focus on this particular problem, but the 30,000 or the millions who are missing around the world, who are being sold into slavery. And as especially Black folks, we should know that there's no good to come out of that. That is not a good look. So I wish somebody was speaking against this more prominently when my ancestors were going through slavery. You know what I'm saying? So I got to do my due diligence and speak upon this sex slavery epidemic that's going on right now. And it seems like it's almost to the point where it's like, do anybody want to stop this from happening? Because you don't hear, I read the numbers, you don't get too many convictions for this crime. It's like they cannot catch these people. I, I don't get it. How are sex traffickers the slickest of the criminals? They just cannot be caught for some. You can catch little Tyrone who stole the PlayStation out of your house when they broke in, but you can't catch these sex traffickers. It makes you scratch your head. It makes you scratch your head. But for everybody out there, not just young ladies, women, men too, be safe out there. Not too much me, because like I said to start off the show, I think they'll give me back. There's no value in me. I'm done. I'm no good to anybody. It is what it is. I've come to grips with it, and so has my wife. But anyways, let's jump into our review. Let's talk about this film that Carlee Russell considers her favorite film. And it is none other than the 2008 action thriller Taken, which stars Liam Neeson. And this is when Liam Neeson became the Liam Neeson that we embrace these days, this action star. Because prior to Taken, Liam Neeson wasn't known as an action star. He was Schindler's List. You know what I'm saying? It was Academy Award nominated performances. And don't get me wrong, you probably can get, of course I haven't seen it yet, you probably can get nominated for an Academy Award for being in an action film. I haven't seen it, but it's possible. But he was in movies like that, period dramas and stuff like that. He was in some thrillers and whatnot, but not action. Not where he was actually doing physical action. And he was old when this movie came out. I mean, what? He was 56, 57, somewhere up in there. But I mean, which isn't that old, but to start an action film career. Because you think of Tom Cruise. Yeah, Tom Cruise is, what, 60? I think, yeah, he's about 60. But Tom Cruise been doing action films since he was in his 20s. So it just progressed. Harrison Ford been doing action films his whole career. So to see him at 80 years old on back of a horse in Indiana Jones, it's all right. But you starting your action career in your mid to late 50s was kind of crazy. But and be a beast at it, that's what made it even more exciting. Taken is a film I remember when it came out, because I don't know, I don't remember quite how, but I saw it like a year before it came out. I think I had bought a DVD. Yeah, DVDs. I bought a DVD from somebody, and I guess it was a bootleg or something like that. And you're like, man, watch this. This is Taken. And I didn't know what Taken was. I tried it out. It was like $5. I just bought it and went home, popped it in, and started watching it. And I can tell you this: the version I saw is different from the American version than what was released in the States like a year later. But this was raw. The version I saw, it was rated R. It was he did more in this version. I wish I still had that DVD. I think I lent it out or whatever. I can't remember, but I wish I still had it, because I haven't seen that version since then. Now, the original version, well, not the original, but the version that we did get here in the United States, that's the version I'm going to review. And I've seen that a million times, but I only seen that version of, I guess it was the European version. I don't know, but it was grimy, bruh. It was really, it's better than what this version is. I'll put it that way. But the premise of Taken finds Liam Neeson, who plays Brian Mills, a ex-CIA officer who sets about tracking down his teenage daughter Kim, who is portrayed by Maggie Grace, and her best friend Amanda after the two girls are kidnapped by human traffickers while traveling in France during a vacation. Also starring in this film is Famke Janssen, who portrays Liam Neeson's ex-wife and the mother of Kim. And man, this movie just blew my mind back in 2008. I have not, well, I'll say this. I didn't know much about the sex trafficking around that time. At least I weren't paying much attention to it until this film. And this is why I love film so much, because I learned so much through film. You know, it brings things to my attention, you know, that I normally wouldn't look at. And this brought sex trafficking to my attention. Like, wait, this is a real thing? You know, I've heard of sex trafficking. I did hear about it prior to this film, but this really shined a light on it for me. And this isn't a deep film that dives into the core of sex trafficking and all that. It's a pretty basic story, but it just brought something to light that I was like, man, this is a serious thing, man. I didn't know it was like this. I mean, you know, and I don't know what I was thinking it was, because nothing about it is pretty, but this is an ugly thing. And this is a father who is determined to travel halfway across the world to save his daughter from said sex traffickers. Now, he is a former CIA agent, so he has some resources, even though it was limited, but he had resources to track it down. And as a father, I would love to picture myself, well, not love, I hope I never have to deal with this, but picture that this is what I would do in said situation. You know, nothing is going to stop me. Nothing is going to get in my way from saving my babies. That nothing. It's showcased in the line when he was talking to the abductors when they had stolen. He was on the phone, and the guy picked up the phone, didn't say a word, and Liam Neeson, in his awesome voice, tells him, I don't know who you are, you know, I don't have any money, just let my daughter go, but if you don't, I will find you and I will kill you. You know, I'm a man, I got skills, I have a particular set of skills. It's like, oh man, he just broke it down to that dude. The way he broke it down to him on that phone, I would have let her go immediately. Like, this dude crazy, I'm gonna let her go. And sure enough, when he gets over there and hunts them down and finds him, and sure enough, he told him, I told you I would find you. I mean, this was such a well-made little movie. This is a small movie by the scale of films that we get now, these $100 to $200 million pictures. This was a $25 million movie. Very small, very contained, but very good. And let's break down our actors. Starting off with Liam Neeson. This spawned a second half of his career that has been very successful for him as this action star. Liam Neeson portrayal as Brian Mills, as this father, so particular from his years of working as a CIA agent, very detail oriented, very cerebral in his approach to situations. He played it so well. And the vulnerability of his daughter being a subject to this sex trade was just, it was heartbreaking. And what he was prepared to do to get her back, I mean, by any means necessary. And Liam Neeson played it perfectly. Maggie Grace as his daughter, I think, did a good job. My flaw with her, she looked too old to portray this teenage girl. Now, at the time, I don't know how old she was at the time they filmed this, but she didn't feel or look like a teenage girl traveling on her own. She looked in her mid-20s. And I could be dead wrong. I don't know how old. I probably should have looked it up before I talked about it, but she just didn't look it. And I didn't feel the innocence, I should say, in her. Even though she was acting innocent, and she acted like a teenage girl. She didn't do a horrible job. It wasn't her fault per se. I just think she was miscast at points. Now, in some scenes, maybe it's the way they shot the film, because in some scenes she feels older than what she is portraying, and in other scenes it seems like she fits it. And it could be just by the way they shot the film. I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't there. Famke Janssen as Lenore, his ex-wife. I love Famke Janssen. I mean, Jean Grey from the X-Men films, and the first time I seen her was in, I think it was GoldenEye, the James Bond film with Pierce Brosnan, and I've been a fan of hers ever since. And she was good in this role as a mother who was a complete opposite. She was the yin to Liam Neeson's yang. He was more controlling and wanted to keep a tight leash on his daughter, whereas Famke Janssen wanted to be free, to explore, do live a life of a young person and do all this here. And with Liam Neeson being so skeptical about her going on this trip, and not wanting her to go, you don't know what's going to happen, and this, that, and the third, and basically them talking him into it, and to be proven right, even though he didn't want to. That's one of those situations where you didn't want to be right, you wanted to be wrong, but he was right. And I told you so wasn't. Keep that on the back burner. You don't throw that one at her. But yeah, it was a good yin to her yang. The rest of the supporting cast was good as well. The direction by Pierre Monroe is excellent. I love the way this film was shot. I love the pace of it. It was a really, really fast-paced type picture. And it slowed down when it needed to, but when it needed to rev it up, it did a great job of revving up the action. The action was shot fairly well. The hand-to-hand combat was shot in a kind of a close-up way where you could see that this was Liam Neeson doing these stunts, doing these fight scenes. And it was like, oh man, this really is Liam Neeson doing this thing. A little tidbit I wanted to say before we started on this track. Liam Neeson wasn't the first choice in this film. The first choice, and he was actually cast, was Jeff Bridges, but he had to drop out, and Liam Neeson took the role because he wanted to do more physical work as an actor. He wanted to do action film. He never got the chance early in his career, and voila. And I think we're better for it. Nothing against Jeff Bridges. I love Jeff Bridges, but I can't picture Jeff Bridges in this role. I like him in an old man, but I don't see him. I just don't see it. I don't see it. But it worked out for the better. I mean, Jeff Bridges didn't. He isn't hurting at all. Now on to my flaws, which are few, and it's the American version. I like the movie. I like the American version or the theatrical version, however you want to quantify it. But the version I saw, the bootleg version I saw, was way more brutal, and you felt the desperation from Liam Neeson more. I mean, he was brutal. For example, the scene when he electrocutes the guy with jams the nails in the guy's kneecaps and wrap the I guess you could say the wires around and flip the switch and it will start electrocuting him, whatever. In the theatrical version, we don't see him jam the nails into his legs. In the bootleg version I saw, they showed it. And it was brutal. You know, and that scene went a little longer than what we saw in the theatrical version. There was another scene. Why am I blanking on it right now? Oh my God, I'm just that quick. But anyway, there was another scene that was different that showed Liam Neeson's character of Brian Mills really go ham, you know, because it was a brutal version. It was a rated R version, and I felt it more, even though I did feel it in the version that we got. But it's just something about that initial impact of that. I guess I could call it bootleg version that I saw prior to it being released over here, and it is a different feel. It is a different feel. And that was my knock. That's my knock, that they changed it. I felt there was no reason to change those scenes that I'm talking about. So in the spirit of me reviewing the theatrical version that we all saw, I'm gonna have to ding it. I'm gonna have to ding it for that. But overall, this was this is a classic. This is hands down one of my favorite Liam Neeson films. It went on to spawn 3 sequels and a television show, all of which are nowhere near as good as this 2008 film. I'm sorry. Taken 2 was all right, but Taken 3, oh my God, that was horrible. Taken 3 was so bad, I couldn't get through it all. It was hard for me to get through it. And the TV show I never watched. Because it made no sense to me. I didn't want to see a young Brian Mills. I didn't care to see that. Why would you call it Taken? But it did last, I think, 2 seasons. But I didn't watch not one episode of that show. But I did watch the 2008 film Taken, which gets a letter grade of a B+. Awesome action movie. And I, for the life of me, don't know what Carlee Russell was researching this movie about. I don't understand what was she trying to get from this film to help her plight or help her grand scheme of staging this hoax. It made no sense whatsoever. But look, I'm glad that she was caught. I'm glad that it was exposed to be a lie, so we can give our attention to where it needs to go, to those who are truly missing, those who are truly being human trafficked. It in a crazy twist of irony, this does bring more attention to the trafficking problem. You know, and I guess for that reason, good job, Carlee. But it's definitely sad that she had to do that. And I hope that she gets the help that she needs. I really do, because she needs help. She needs somebody to talk to her. She needs, I don't know, but if you're willing to go through those extremes for whatever reason it may be, I'm pretty sure it's going to come out what exactly was the actual reason, you know. But there is no good reason. There is no good excuse for why you did what you did. But that's it. But I would like to know what you think about this whole Carlee Russell situation. I know everybody on social media, especially on TikTok, oh my God, they are crucifying that girl. It is brutal what is being said about her. And look, I don't advocate jumping down to people's backs like that, you know, but she brought it on herself. She really did. She brought it on herself. And I hope that she can take it. Yeah, I really do. And I hope she has somebody close to her to, you know, keep her off the ledge, so to speak, through all of this scrutiny that she is getting and it will continue to get. And so it is what it is. But I'd like to know, what are your feelings on the situation? Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on all social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network as well as YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for today's show. Can't wait to speak to you again. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love one another. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.